What's going on, guys? It's Hi, and in this video we are taking a look at a budget option for those who are looking to pick up a car blow dryer. To backtrack for those who don't know what I'm talking about, in short, when we wash a car, there's likely going to be some water left behind. You can either leave the water to air dry or do something to get rid of it. Well, if you let the water air dry, and unless you're using a water filtration system, you're going to develop a bunch of water spots. That's not exactly ideal, so air drying is not really the recommended approach. So the logical thing to do is to dry the car somehow. What most people are going to be used to is to simply towel dry. However, even when using a high quality towel, there's always a chance of introducing some light scratches, as we can unknowingly be dragging leftover dirt and debris across the surface of our vehicle. Not to mention that towel drying can be time consuming and isn't very effective when you have to deal with those nooks and crannies. So what's the better alternative? Blow drying. For this, there's an entire industry of options from different manufacturers, and these blow dryers range in the price from about $100 to $500. Today I have for you a dryer that's right at the bottom of that range. This is the Amy Dog Dryer, and it costs about $110. You heard that right, this is a dog dryer and not specifically a car dryer. From my experience with these types of dryers, what's marketed as a dog or pet dryer is essentially the same thing as a car dryer. The products share many of the same features, and very often, the pet dryers are going to give you more bang for the buck. Case in point, with the Amy we get a powerful 3200 watt 4.3 horsepower motor. If you were to try and buy a car dryer for around this price point, you're more likely to get something with a 1 horsepower motor. If you're looking at 4 horsepower, you're more realistically looking at 2 or 3 times the price. Included with this unit, we get a flexible self-expanding and retracting hose that stretches up to 78 inches. Four different nozzles, but realistically 3, because the brush nozzle isn't really going to do any good for our paint. Now that I've gotten some time with this unit, I'd like to share with you some of the pros and cons that I've noticed. The first pro is the general controls. On top of the dryer we have 3 adjustments. On the right we have the power switch. That's pretty self-explanatory, it turns the dryer on and off. In the middle is a knob that controls the speed or the rate of wind flow. This knob is stepless and there's no hard stops or specific settings. I like this because it allows me to more easily dial in the speed that I want. Say I'm blowing water off of a hood, because it's generally a big flat section, I can crank the speed all the way up and just get the water flying off of the surface. Then if I'm working around vents or a delicate area, I can turn the speed down to not damage anything. I like the stepless knob because I find it easier to get what I want than say just on or off or something specific, because sometimes you need those in-between settings and this gives me that. On the left of the speed knob is a switch that turns the heat function of the dryer on and off. I really like this feature, and it is not something that's usually present on car dryers. With a car dryer, the heat is usually always on. I think the ability to choose between having the heat on or off is beneficial because sometimes it's just not necessary. For example, if you're someone who auto details outside and you can only do it in direct sunlight, having the heat can be detrimental because it just adds to an already hot surface and makes the water dry even faster, possibly contributing to water spots. So for me, this heat function is definitely appreciated. Another pro for this dryer is that it includes a way to securely attach the hose and nozzles. These parts are held in place by a ring that snaps into a groove. This may seem trivial, but I've tried some other dryers where the attachments are simply friction fitted on or use some other really janky method, and things can definitely pop off. Having a nozzle fly off at your car while using a powerful air cannon isn't exactly something that you'd want, so the lock and collar design is a good one. Now, as great an option as this dryer is, I do see 2 potential drawbacks. The first is the rubber feet. Because this is a pet dryer, something like this typically doesn't have to be moved around too much. This is fine for a small animal that stays in place, but we have to make our way around a car. This just means that if you go with something like this, you're going to have to pick the dryer up and move it around a couple times before finishing up. I don't think this is too big of a deal, as the machine isn't really that heavy, and if you want, you can just take the rubber pads off and replace them with some caster wheels that fit. This is a fairly easy fix. The next drawback is the hose length. Again, with this unit you get a hose that stretches out to about 78 inches. This can be short depending on your needs. If you have a super lifted car, this unit may just not work for you unless you do something to keep it lifted while drying. But considering that this unit is made for pet drying, we can't really complain and just have to consider what we're working with. But overall, this is a great little dryer. It's plenty powerful enough to dry a car, motorcycle, quad, or whatever else you feel like blowing air at. For the price, I think this unit is very hard to beat. If you'd like to pick one up for yourself, I've included links to the product in the description below. If you've enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it if you can give it a thumbs up, share it around, comment down below with any thoughts or questions that you may have. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more content, and if you want to further support my work, consider hitting the join button down below to become a YouTube member, or become a patron on Patreon. Thanks a lot for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.